Holla Holla James Drums coming at you tonight, getting ready for the studio, and so I thought I would show you how I change heads on a snare drum. Same thing applies to other drums, but I'm changing just the head on my snare drum for the studio. So here we go. First, you need some things. The first thing you need, of course, is a snare drum. The second thing you need is a place to put the snare drum, which is right here. Preferably someplace that is soft, that's dead, and that is right around waist height, so you're not breaking your back. Stick to help you tune. New drum head. I'm using a coated Emperor, 13 inches. That's how big this bass drum is. Few other things you need are water bottle, always important, sponsored by Columbia. You need some Jesus sandals just to, make sure you're doing everything right. And you also need, probably the most important thing, drum key. I carry mine on my keychain. If you don't, you should. It's important. So, here we go. So, when taking off a drum head, I always, just like I tune, I start on opposite corners and go start. So let's say I'll go ahead and start here. Then I go across. Then I skip one lug, go over here, go across. Then I skip one lug over here, go across. Now because this has 10 lugs, I have to do just a 1 jump instead of another 2 jump. But basically I go 1 down, go across. Then I go 2 down, go across. So I'll start right here. And what I basically do is I get them fairly loose. So that way it's starting to pull, so I can undo them with my fingers. So there, here. So once I get them all loosened, I loosen them by hand. So that should take not very long at all.
I make sure I try to leave the lugs on, because that way I can just lift the snare drum up and not have to do anything with them. Although typically a few of them fall off. So okay, all the lugs are undone, besides this one. And now I can just lift the whole thing off. There we go.
So now I take the new head, after I've double checked everything's clean in there, take the new head, place it on the drum, take the rim with the lugs that are still in place, and because this is a wood hoop, I rotate, because you can see there's a ton of wear right here. It's worn down pretty well, just from doing rim shots and stuff. So I will typically, after I clean this, clean the hoop out a little bit, I will typically rotate it by like, I don't know, a quarter turn or something. So that's still worn, that's still worn. So now I'll come over here, rotate it to a quarter turn, so I have a fresh hoop right there, a fresh rim. And then I go ahead and set the rim on the drums. Now, the next thing I do is make sure I push the head all the way down, and then I start hand tightening all of the lugs, doing the cross pattern that I was doing before. Now once I get them all kind of on and hand tightened, and I just go through, double check everything, then that's when you begin seating the head. Now seating the head is making sure it's kind of like breaking in the head. It's like new strings on a guitar, you know, or new shoes. You want to make sure that you get the fit right. So before I even start tuning it, I seat the head, make sure everything's sitting right, everything's going okay. And then I press down pretty hard in the center, you know, and then I hold it in the center, and then I do my tuning and try to get rid of the wrinkles. So this isn't the best light, but there's wrinkles in it right now, and you know, maybe that will help, maybe not. But anyway, so there's wrinkles when you press on the head, and you're gonna go ahead and start tuning and try to get those wrinkles out. So I usually do, from hand tighten, I usually do 1, 2 full turns, and then I go to the next one, do 2 full turns. So after doing 2 full turns, there's still some wrinkles, and I'm pressing pretty hard. So then I just go until I take out the wrinkles.
This helps, it really helps having good light and a good place to do this, you know? And you can hear it cracking and starting to really break in. So once you hear that, and you hear it cracking, and it's really starting to be broken in, then what I do is I stand on it. So I go like this. Take off your shoes. And you really hear it cracking. And you can see the wrinkles again.
So then, what I'll do is I will go ahead and actually lean on it this time, and tighten it even more. And I'll kind of just go around and just tighten it, tighten it, tighten it. The whole point of this part of it is not necessarily to get the drum sounding great. It's to break in the head and seat the head, so that way it stays in tune and it gets used to the bearing edges, and the drum gets used to holding it, the tension, because the drum's been holding a different tension with your old head.
Oh yeah, you hear that? Oh yeah, that's good. Some good stuff. Maybe I'll hop on it again. Really try to get that head broken in.
And this is great. And you can do this with every single head that you own. And really get it seated on there. I think it's super, super important. Once you feel pretty confident that you have the head seated correct and everything, and you get it all good to go, then what I do is I untune everything, or I loosen everything and then retune it from the ground up. Because you always want to tune up. You don't really ever want to tune down. You want to tune up. So I basically loosen, same kind of pattern, loosen all the way across the drum head.
And then I start again loosening the drum head. Same kind of way. You hear that? You know, one of the things that you can do is you can seat the head again. Like, really break it in, you know? That way you're making sure that you're getting the most use or the best start with your drum head. Because if you start playing it and it's not seated correctly, then the drum head will go bad way quicker. You know? And then you'll have to go out and spend another 20 bucks on a new drum head, which isn't that bad, but, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't have 20 bucks to spend every week on drum heads. I would love to. I would love to just get an endorsement. Yeah, yeah. But I gotta wait on that for a little while. Alright.
So now they're all basically, I can hand tighten them again. So now I start tuning. So that's how I put on new heads. So then I start the tuning process, like I said, and go from there. Make that shit sound good. So if you have any questions, you know, you can just message me, send a message on here. I think this stuff is important, and I don't think many drummers know how to do it correctly. So, yeah, there we go. If you have any questions, let me know. Holla holla, peace. Also, final note, save your old heads. You have no idea. They can be either made into like mutes by cutting them out, or you have no idea when you're going to be playing on tour or somewhere, and you're going to need a spare snare drum head because something crazy will happen and you'll break right through one, or someone else will. And it's always good to have spares, especially when you're not at home, or especially when you're playing a gig. So spare the spares. Boom.